Hello and welcome. What sort of opportunity is there for Haiti to start from scratch following the devastating earthquake that tore down most of the infrastructure? Well, having so little left has prompted people to consider a fresh start for a country that was already one of the poorest in the world. Right now, the priority is getting humanitarian aid to the people, which remains a challenge, particularly as coordination among relief agencies is haphazard and public frustration is on the rise. There is also still a lingering fear that aftershocks will continue. Still, in the effort to look forward, some people are thinking big, imagining Haiti as a tabula rasa, a blank slate. In this somewhat optimistic scenario, all the rubble could be cleared out soon and the reconstruction would begin. Buildings would be earthquake-proof and decent employment, health and education could be provided for all. But that could take decades. Just moving people back into houses is a challenge that could take 5 years, according to the International Organization for Migration. And with hurricane season around the corner, time is not on Haiti's side. So today we ask, as Haiti moves from crisis to recovery, when will it be able to stand on its own? Remember, you can join our conversation with your questions and comments. You can send an SMS or an email. We also welcome your phone calls on the show. Well, joining me now in Washington, D.C. is Mark Schneider, a former assistant administrator for the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID. In that capacity, he was overseeing reconstruction programs in Latin America and the Caribbean. He's currently the senior vice president of the International Crisis Group, and in that capacity visited Haiti on a fact-finding mission, although he knows the country very well. Mark Schneider, great to have you with us.
Thank you.
So first of all, your view on how things might progress in the coming months. We've got the hurricane season, the rainy season coming up. Knowing the country as you do, with the way the situation stands, people in these sort of haphazard, sort of these ramshackle shelters, what's the prospect of things getting much worse?
There's no question that those victims are going to continue to be in dire situation for many months to come. Not only is it a challenge to get them food and water and medical care, but as you say, they're not going to be in any kind of permanent shelter before the rains come. But I think that the point is, as you also mentioned, is that at the same time that Haiti has to consider the relief issue, they also have to begin thinking about the recovery and reconstruction.
We're hoping to get to Haiti and get some direct response from people there on the ground. One thing that is coming out, though, is the level of criticism of the Haitian government for not being around and not being present to help its own people. What's your perspective on that?
Well, I think you have to step back a bit and recognize this is the worst natural disaster in the history of the Western Hemisphere in terms of number of people dead and injured. And it's probably, if you look at the percentage of deaths versus population, it may be one of the worst one or two in the world ever. So I think that also you have to know that if you think back the number of ministry buildings where governments work, they were all destroyed, and virtually every one of them, including the palace, the national palace, including the parliament, and the parliament was meeting in the police academy the last time I looked, and ministers are meeting under trees, so it's very difficult to put things back together.
Why has there been such a difficulty, though, in aid agencies and the NGOs being able to coordinate together and work together to get a more cohesive policy?
Well, I think it's not so much the inability or lack of desire on the part of the variety of international, not just NGOs, but government agencies. Remember that the U.S. effort is coordinated by the Office of Foreign Disaster Assistance, Canadians, etc. It's just that the infrastructure in Haiti is so difficult. You simply cannot bring everybody sitting around a table because you don't have a table. And at this point, I think, though, the United Nations coordination is beginning to take hold. They've identified and they've set up 16 distribution points for food. They're now protected and secure, and they estimate that they've reached about 1.1 million. But that means that 800 or 900,000 people still haven't got their rations for the next 2 weeks.
There is some fear that, of course, lawlessness is going to be a big issue here. Gangs were a major problem in Haiti over the years. Actually, to some degree, the gang sort of warfare and gang activity was reduced somewhat in the recent years, wasn't it?
What occurred was that the United Nations has a peacekeeping mission, about 7,000 police, 7,000 military, 2,000 police, and they basically succeeded with the Haitian National Police to break up and arrest the gangs. The problem is that the earthquake destroyed the National Penitentiary, and of the 5,000 or so prisoners who escaped, probably 1,000 were among those gang members originally arrested. So they're going to have to undertake a major intelligence and law enforcement effort once again.
One of the other issues that's come up, which has been of big concern, is the vulnerability of the children. So many orphans, of course, and the issue of child trafficking. On that issue, we had an email, if I could put this to you. It came from Pakistan. Amina Wasif wrote in saying, what does the UN think of recent allegations of child trafficking, and what is the UN Stabilisation Mission doing to prevent that? Of course, with all the other issues taking hold as well, I wonder how much priority is being given to this.
Well, I think they actually, together with UNICEF and several UN international organizations, they've come together and and essentially are identifying the orphanages, the areas where children have been placed, and they're attempting to ensure that no one moves children out of the country without full agreement from the government, and that there's a strong effort made to deal with the problem of illicit trafficking. That's been a problem for a long time, and now I think it's even worse.
Mr. Schneider, I'm going to ask you to stand by because we have on the phone Jean-Max Bellerive, the Prime Minister of Haiti. He's joining us from UN headquarters in Port-au-Prince by video phone, or by phone actually, I think. Prime Minister, good to have you with us. And I want to start off first, sir.
My pleasure.
Thank you, sir. I want to start off by asking you about the criticism, of course, the Haitian government has faced for the way it's handled the current situation. Mark Schneider, who's joining me in the studio from ICG, has said, of course, it's a disaster on a very unique scale for Haiti to deal with. But there's been criticism. The Haitian government has been absent and certainly hasn't helped in terms of curbing the corruption, which has affected, hampered perhaps the recovery efforts. So how do you answer those?
No, I can understand the frustration of the population. When you have more than 1 million people on the streets, when you have a lot of difficulties to make the international community help reach those populations, it's normal that you have to have frustration, and we are aware and we are frustrated also. But we believe that since the first day, the government tried to do what they have to do, meaning organizing the rescue of the Haitian people, trying to connect with the international community in order to coordinate the international aid that was flooding to Haiti. And until now, we are working day by day with the different institutions, national institutions, and with the international community here. But the criticism is going to continue because there is a big gap between what we are doing and what is expected by the population. It's normal.
And that's, Prime Minister, that's what I was going to ask you, is what sort of reaction have you had from the people of Haiti in terms of their expectations, and perhaps how has President René Préval also been judged in this, and in terms of by the people of Haiti?
But I believe that basically the reaction of the people is the answer to your question. Well, if you go in the streets in Haiti, you see basically the population is very calm, very quiet, and they are showing clearly some frustration when you talk to them. If you ask an Haitian citizen on the street, how do you feel? The answer is pretty clear. They lost their home, they lost their job, they lost all what they work for all their life. They're not going to be happy. And whatever you're going to bring to them, some water, some food, they are going to keep frustrated. So I fully understand and I relate to the frustration of those people. But basically, I believe that the Haitian people, they still believing there is hope in front of them. They are patient. They are waiting for the help. They are waiting for the work, the result of the work of their government. And but they know that it's not easy. Now you will have a lot of people trying to take advantage of that situation and try to make believe that the situation is worse than what it is right now.
So what's your priority? What would you like done right now to help the people of Haiti?
Right now, I would like to be sure that every Haitian is under a roof, whatever that it is, a tent, it is a plastic or something. But I'm very afraid of what is coming next. What is coming next is the rainy season. So it's my priority now to see how we can put most of the people under one shelter. So we are working closely with the international community. We are working closely with the minister to see how it can happen. It won't be... excuse me.
Right.
That is my number one priority right now.
Well, sir, just a quick thought in terms of looking forward, and we're trying to do that on the show. Who should lead the recovery of Haiti? Who is it going to be? Will it be the Haitian people? Will it be the US? Perhaps the UN, which of course took a severe hit in Haiti as well?
I believe at that time there is no discussion about that. Haiti is going to lead the reconstruction of Haiti, and I believe that we have the full support of the main partners, the minister, the US, the French, the Canadians. They all said at the Montreal conference that they not only accept that the leadership of Haiti, but they are looking for that leadership. Now we know that we cannot do it alone. We have to work with our partners in order to achieve our objectives. But Haiti is the only body that can decide what is better for the Haitian.
What chance is there, Prime Minister, of anyone being held accountable for the poor infrastructure that led to so many deaths in Haiti in the first place?
Accountable, there is so it's like 100 years, the memory for the last earthquake in Haiti. So who is accountable for so many deaths is very difficult to say. In any case, we as a government will accept that we are accountable right now because we are in charge and we are not going to diffuse that responsibility and send it to somebody else. We have to do what we have to do now, trying to take care of the people that are still alive.
Prime Minister, good to have you on the phone with us from Port-au-Prince. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, man.
Jean-Max Belrive joining us then. We're going to take a very short break. More of our discussion on Haiti's future when we return. Don't go away. Welcome back. We're discussing the massive challenges facing Haiti's recovery effort in the wake of last month's crippling earthquake. I'm joined by Mark Schneider, the Senior Vice President of the International Crisis Group based here in Washington, D.C. And joining us from Port-au-Prince is Edmond Mulet, the acting head of the UN Stabilisation Mission in Haiti, known as Minister, and acting head of the UN Peacekeeping Force in the country. He's there in the headquarters in Port-au-Prince, as I said. Edmond Mulet, good to have you with us. I realize you're having a very busy and difficult or challenging time right now. I know you're particularly frustrated with the way the coordination of the relief effort is going. What are your main concerns?
Well, on the coordination mechanisms we have established, and it was approved by the international community in Montreal, the different levels, and with the President and with the Prime Minister, we've been having, those meetings are coordinating mechanism meetings here in Port-au-Prince, and that is going pretty well, establishing the priorities and, the urgencies, the needs, etc. So I think that here in Port-au-Prince and on the ground, in the field, on the pure operational side of things, coordination is much more improved than it was, let's say, 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Let me put a question to you before I get back to Mark Schneider. Let me put a question to you, Mr. Mulet. This is from one of our viewers who wrote in by Facebook, Riz Khan, who wrote in saying, "The world has given generously, but it hasn't reached all the needy. Widespread corruption is hindering the aid effort. How is that being dealt with?"
Well, pledges and offers and promises of resources and aid have been made, and that's why it's so important to all the international community to gather in New York at the end of March in order to see where that money is going to go. The pledges are there, but money is not being sent to Haiti yet. Some of the agencies have been buying food and other kind of medical assistance, etc., aid and relief, but no money is coming to the government nor to anybody else here in Haiti yet. And then we will see then the mechanisms, who is going to manage a trust fund and how that is going to be disbursed and where it's going to go. But that money is there, not yet there. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, Mark Schneider,
we can't talk about corruption or anything yet. Absolutely no.
All right. Well, Mark Schneider, I wanted to ask you, and there's a strange dynamic taking place between the United States and the United Nations in Haiti, almost like a sort of battle for control of the way the recovery is going. Why is that?
Well, actually, I don't think that that's accurate. I think that the President Proval and the UN asked the United States to bring both the civilian relief effort and the military response in order to, for example, to permit the airport to function and to begin to offload containers because the port in Port-au-Prince was almost destroyed. And so I think in that regard, the collaboration, coordination between the U.S. and the UN has not been bad. I think the problem is that the magnitude of this disaster simply has to be seen to be understood. When you have 200,000 people dead, 300,000 injured, and 1 million, as the Prime Minister noted, in the streets, and the streets in Port-au-Prince are relatively, let's say they're not broad, they're not huge, there are only 3 main avenues to get from downtown up to the hills. It's very difficult.
Let me before I get to a caller on the phone, let me get an email question that came in to you, Edmond Mulet. This is from Facebook, from Ali Mohammed, who wrote in saying, unfortunately, the US has hijacked the rescue efforts from the UN, and most of America's intentions are selfish. Sounds obviously very skeptical, but there's also a feeling that perhaps the Haitians tend to rally more around the United States than the United Nations.
No, it's not true. I mean, we requested the U.S. troops to come underground because we were overwhelmed by this situation. The United Nations mission here in Haiti was also the victim of this earthquake, as much as the state and the government. The first respondents to any natural disaster situation, a catastrophe, hurricanes or floods, I mean, it's the government and us. And we were prepared to face these situations, but we were not prepared to be the victims of such a circumstance. That's why the presence of American troops on the ground was so needed in the very beginning to help us to provide that humanitarian assistance and managing the port and the airport. We know that the American troops will be here for a limited amount of time, and this will give us the opportunity to put the mission back on its feet, so we can also perform those duties eventually. So the cooperation, the collaboration has been really exemplary between the UN troops and American troops.
Okay, we have a caller on the line from Virginia in the USA. Tesfa, your question, please.
My question is, the capital city has only about 3 million people, and the whole world is trying to help, but even food could not get to the people. What's the problem if it's not countries not trying to cooperate with each other under such a humanitarian crisis? I think it's politics that's getting in the way. What does your guest think? My other question is, the International Crisis Group put out a warning about the ethnic conflict in Ethiopia. I am an Ethiopian, and I know for sure it's the government of Ethiopia that's fanning ethnic hatred.
Okay, Tesfa, unfortunately, we're not touching on Ethiopia in this show. We will get onto that, though, because it's an important topic, and I thank you for raising that. But I want to focus on Haiti here, and first let me get I'll get a response from both of you. Let's get Edmond Mulet. First, the issue of the food aid getting through. There have been reports of the food aid, a lot of it being hijacked and being even sold to Haitians. Obviously, a very tragic situation considering the suffering they've already faced.
Well, it's the World Food Program, it's NGOs, it's many organizations, UN agencies delivering food. I mean, and the ones assisting in providing escorts to convoys and providing security to static distribution points are first of all the National Police of Haiti, then UN troops, and then American troops and Canadian troops. Today we are receiving a contingent of Spanish troops. We have French troops on the ground. We have Jamaican troops. We have contingents from many countries, and they're all working on this issue. So nobody has hijacked anything, okay. And the food distribution is improving day by day. And President Clinton, as Special Envoy of the Secretary General, is sending us 100 pickups that are arriving at the end of this week already, and this will help to distribute and go farther into the neighborhoods where no big trucks can go through. I mean, so all this is happening as we speak.
Actually, on that point, Mark Schneider, Bill Clinton, how do you think he will fit in with the work of the UN there right now?
Well, I think that the Secretary General obviously has asked him to use his experience from the Aceh tsunami to help organize the international effort in this particular case. And I assume that, given the experience in Indonesia, that this will be a basis for planning ahead. The point that was made about food, though, is crucial, which is that in the first days there was a great difficulty in getting food that was coming in to people because they were all out on the streets, and it was very hard to get, obviously, to get trucks to them. They set up 16 distribution centers, I gather, and now it's more organized, but they still have a major task ahead of them, because there has to be continuing deliveries to those 16 centers over time.
And of course, shelter is a huge issue. Edmond Mulet, the issue of there was a plan to build 10 camps with 10,000 temporary homes in each. What's happened to that plan?
Well, the tents are coming. I mean, President Clinton has ordered 23,000 tents in Bangladesh, and they're on their way. And many other organizations are providing that kind of shelter also, tarpaulins and plastic sheets, etc. And then what we need is now in each of these camps and settlements to provide some kind of more a structure that could withstand, I mean, heavy winds, strong winds, and a hurricane season, so the people living around can protect themselves if need be. It will be impossible to provide a hard wall shelter to all these people in Port-au-Prince before the rainy season. So we'll have to be really flexible and think out of the box. So one of the ideas is to have these one or two structures in the middle of these camps, so people can look for shelter and protection if need be. And simultaneously, of course, we will continue working on the establishment of formal shelter for them.
Mark Schneider, I've got about 40 seconds. There's an SMS that came in from Hamdan Khan in the UK who says, why not aim for a global disaster recovery plan? Is there anything that could work like a Marshall-type plan, the post-World War II plan for Haiti?
I think that it's at that level that people have to be thinking in terms of responding to the needs, which have got to be, I suspect, well into the $10 to $20 billion range. And so in the donors meeting coming up at the end of March, I would hope that there would be a commitment to help Haiti over the long term. This can't be thought of as 3 to 5 years. This is a decade or more.
Well, I know for a fact we'll be touching on the subject again. I thank you. Edmond Mulet, thank you very much for joining us too there in Haiti. Mark Schneider, no doubt we'll get you back to talk about Ethiopia. Consider this first question. And thank you for being with us too. Now remember, you can follow our program on Twitter. We'll keep you notified on upcoming shows, and you can send us questions and comments to pose to our guest. On the next show, has the Rainbow Nation lived up to the dream? 20 years after Nelson Mandela walked out of prison, we look at the state of South Africa today and how it defines equality. Be sure to tune in for that. From me and the team, we'll see you next time.